So we are so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us bright and early. Allow me to introduce the ladies to you. They are friends, roommates, colleagues, Danielle Weisberg and Carly Zakin. When they walked away from their jobs as NBC News producers at the tender age of 20-something, neither imagined where their journey would take them. They created the Skimm, a daily email app that quite literally skims the news on behalf of its readers, allowing millions of intelligent but busy professionals to catch up on the day's news. Since the success of the Skimm, Danielle and Carly were named Forbes 30 Under 30 in media in 2015, Adweek's Young Influentials in 2015, and listed in the 100 Most Intriguing Entrepreneurs of 2014 by Goldman Sachs Builders and Innovators Summit. That is quite a list of achievements. Please welcome our guests. So hopefully the first question is fairly easy. For those who may not be as familiar with the Skimm, in maybe 2 or 3 sentences, can you describe what it is?
Sure. Well, good morning. We're really excited to be here. Thank you guys for having us. So the Skimm, very simply, is a company that makes it easier to live smarter. We focus on female millennials, which is really the reason why we started the company. We were producers at NBC News. We grew up news geeks. We always loved reading about the news. We worked our way up from interns to producers, and we got paid to read all day long. The wires, every single story that came out there, it was our job to make sure that we were up on news as it happened. And we quickly realized that in the real world, our friends were paid to do their jobs, which was not to read everything out there all day long. And that our passion was kind of a luxury, to be able to have that time. And so when we looked across the landscape of our friends, female millennial demographic, leading in paychecks and degrees, this generation's breadwinners, we thought it made no sense that there was not an outlet for news and information that was geared towards how this audience is actually consuming it every single day. So we wanted to create that. We thought it was a huge business opportunity. If you can get this audience to trust you every single day about what is going on in the world, that means that you can do a lot as a business from that foundation of trust. So that's what we saw. And today, the company has grown from our couch to just under 70 employees in New York.
Wow. And you started in 2012, correct?
We did.
So it's only about, going into your 6th year.
Yes.
That's still kind of a baby business.
We say we're toddlers.
That's fair.
Yeah, we're a toddler business.
Really, that's awesome. Tell me a little bit about the process of getting started. That's a startup kind of seems like a massive underpinning for...
It feels almost... That was an out-of-body experience in many ways. Like we look back at pictures of ourselves and read, our emails to each other at that time period, and it feels like a different people in a different era. So, as Danielle said, we were, colleagues, but we also were friends first, and so we were roommates at the time. We've moved on, but we were roommates at the time, and we shared a really tiny apartment, and we had, $4,000 between the two of us, and we had just this passion that no one could talk us out of this. Our parents said, we love you, but you're on your own. And, we'll have some dinner together, but best of luck. And we started, we had, nothing was going to get in our way. We literally talked to anyone and everyone who would take a meeting with us. And when I say anyone and everyone, I mean lawyers, accountants. We talked to real estate agents who seemingly have nothing to do with what we're doing, but we're like, you have your own business. How did you do that? And we knew absolutely nothing. We had no business background, no tech background. But what we had, and I'm sure you can appreciate, we're coming from the news experience, is we knew how to talk to people. We were journalists. So we knew how to ask questions, and we knew how to take notes. So every meeting we left, we made sure we had introductions to another meeting, and we kept a spreadsheet of every single person we met with. And we would indicate whether or not we thought we could go to ask them for money one day if we were fundraising, which in that one day came real fast because we had $4,000. And our whole spreadsheet was highlighted red because literally hundreds of people said no to us. And it was just one after another. And it's funny, our parents who have become friends because of this, joke, they're like, there was just no talking to the two of you. Like you were going full steam ahead and people could jump on board or not jump on board, but like you were going. And I think when I look back at that list of all of those people that have said no, it's wonderful to see how many of them either ended up becoming involved in the company or have since tweeted, hey, I really missed that shot and I was wrong to have turned them down.
So I was listening to some other interviews with you from other media outlets, and I heard about a tipping point I would love for you guys to revisit. What was it that finally put you on the map?
Oh, it was the Today Show. So we had worked at kind of every division of NBC News, but we were producers. It's not like we were friendly with the talent. And when we decided to quit our jobs and when we left, what we did was we emailed, the day that we launched, we emailed, I think it was like 5,000 people. And it was anyone that we had ever met. And when I say that, it's not an exaggeration. Like at the time, you could pull people's emails off of Facebook. So you could create like a whole list. As well as for us, we each got 2 vetoes, and it was like one ex-boyfriend's mom didn't make the cut. That was it. Other than that, like if we knew you, if we had your email, you were going on this list. And we sent out a draft, and it was like, hey, we quit our jobs, and we're starting this company. And can you please just sign up here? It was a link, like just check it out. We didn't sign them up, we just asked them to. And one of the people that got that email was Hoda Kotb, and Hoda graciously offered to meet with us and hear about what we were doing, and we didn't know her. So we emailed her along with a ton of other talent at NBC who we had kind of worked for, somewhat new, passed in a hall, gotten coffee for. And Hoda, being the wonderful person that she is, took 10 minutes and met with us. And she was just really excited to hear about 2 young women doing something different. And at the time, she was on the 10 a.m. with her and Kathy Lee. They had the show, and they had this segment, Their Favorite Things. And we were like, oh, my God, that would be amazing if you would mention us. And we didn't hear anything. And we would ask or, check in. And then a couple weeks later, we were actually back at NBC for a meeting, and someone said, oh, I just saw you guys on the Today Show. And we were like, oh, did we get caught like on the Plaza cam? Like, did we just get caught in the background of a shot? And all of a sudden our emails just crashed. And we got just flooded with people checking out the site and signing up because Hoda had named us one of her favorite things. And it's actually a big week for us because, close to 5.5 years directly after that date, we sat down with Hoda, and the interview aired yesterday, where Hoda came to our office and sat down with us, and we got to interview her. And it was just a really amazing experience.
And we gave her a tour of our office, which, when we first met her, we didn't have an office. And we had a really sad apartment, which she never saw. And we gave her a tour, and she cried. And she was like, I feel like a mother, like I feel like a parent, like I feel like you too, like I just feel so proud. And she's become a wonderful friend, and we tell her, like, you changed our life. So I think the lesson is don't be afraid to ask anybody for help.
It's true, and that is some of the boldness of the journalist in you, is we're not afraid to talk. Like you said, we're not afraid to talk to people. And I always say, I'm going to ask. You can say no, but I'm going to ask. You don't get what you don't ask for, right?
Now I'm scared. What are you going to ask us?
So, as you were getting started, I'm sure you faced a number of significant challenges. I won't ask you what the most extensive one was, but what sticks out in your mind?
It's easy, and it is the most extensive one. We had no idea how to raise money. It was the single hardest thing either of us have ever done in our life. Probably what we were both most proud of. We actually just announced yesterday, we just raised an additional, we're raising $12 million from Google. And so we've raised to date just about $28 million. And when I tell you that every dollar in that, I'm so proud of that, because the fact that we could raise $1 mind-blowing to me. And not because of the measure of our idea, but because we really had no idea what we were doing. Our very first meeting, I'll never forget, we met someone in a hotel lobby. He was a venture capitalist, and he said, "What's your valuation?" We had never, ever heard that word before. We had no idea. And thank God that there are two of us, because I froze. I was a deer in headlights. And Danielle just went like this. And I'm looking at her, and he goes, 5. And we're like, yeah. And we had no idea whether we said we were worth $5, $500, $5,000, or $5 million. And this was like 2 months in. And we had no clue. And for us, I mean, part of the story of you ask anyone advice on how to raise money is you never really say you're raising money. And so it's kind of this playing hard to get. You never really say you're looking for a boyfriend, but you're always looking for a boyfriend. Like, it's this like little like song and dance. And so when people asked us literally day one, "Are you raising money?" We're like, "Yeah." And we said that for a year and a half. So all of a sudden,
we were like, "Yeah, we're really poor. We have nothing. Please give us all of your money."
And so all of a sudden, we created a narrative for ourselves in the investor world of they've been raising money for a really long time and they can't. And we didn't even know that we had done that. So it was the hardest thing we've ever done. We had to learn a whole new language, truly, about how to talk about financing and legal terms and how to read Excel. We never took a business class. We were the most stereotypical liberal arts students there ever were. Actually, we got a ride over this morning with Sabrina, who works here, who told us she teaches personal finance, and we were like, we really wish we had you, because we knew nothing. So that was the hardest thing we've ever done, and I would say that followed by managing for the first time. We had never done that either.
I think it's also, on the fundraising point, what we're most proud of. I think it was really, really important to us that we take it on, that we learn how to do it from, nuts to bolts, that we were the people that were going to build the company. We are, and, in the beginning, we were very clear that we are not only just the editorial front, we're not just the spokespeople, we are the business. It's in our heads. And just because we don't have the background doesn't mean that we shouldn't be the ones to lead it. So in order to prove that, and to prove that we could be the CEOs of this company, I think it was really important that we got out there, and we've done every round of funding by ourselves to date. And I think that at some point that switches when you get into a big company. You have other execs that do it, or you have kind of a finance wing that do it. And I think for us, it's really important that we know every single detail of what the round looks like and who we're working with and who the company is going to be surrounded by and what those people are like in negotiations. And I think that's been one of the strengths of our company is our investors know the two of us. They're very, very on board when things go well. And, for a lot of them, they invested in us when we had nothing. And I think that's made the biggest difference in the type of company that we are today compared with a lot of other media startups that launched around the same time.
I would agree. I mean, that's one of the things I talk to my students about is the media has not yet figured out how to monetize the web. And that's a big problem. It needs to be addressed. And I love that you guys are just kind of tackling that and hitting it head on and showing how it's done. We could learn a lot from you. So your target audience is millennials, but more specifically female millennials. What change have you seen, if any, in news consumption among that demographic since you started?
Well, I think it's the most fascinating demographic out there, and not just because we're part of it, but I think when you look at the stats around this audience, they are out-earning their peers or their male counterparts in paychecks and degrees. They are the decision makers in their households, but they are inheriting, they have massive student loan debt. They are inheriting their parents' debt. They might not have Social Security. Sorry, this is like now really depressing. But they might not have Social Security, and they are more educated than their parents were at the same stage, but probably making less than their parents did at this stage. So it's a fascinating audience to study, and they are on their way to have a tremendous amount of disposable income when they get through that debt. So for us, what we saw the biggest problem was that there was nothing fitting into their routines. You have all of those stats that I just said. the biggest way to summarize it is that these are really busy people, and everyone is a busy person, and everyone thinks that they're busier than the person next to them because you don't even know what I have on my plate, and then the person next to you is going to say, you don't even know what I've got going on. So everyone feels super busy, and what we found was that media that we were both working for and experiencing and consuming ourselves never fit into our own routines and didn't fit into our friends' routines. And so the number one thing that we've seen change is that we all, no matter how rich or poor you are, have 24 hours in a day, and you want to use part of that time to sleep. So you got less than that, and you got a lot to do. How do you get smart quickly? And how can we fit information into your routines? And I think that has always been our guiding principle, and that because of that has led us to make what I believe was really smart business decisions that we haven't had to reverse course on. So for example, we never built our company on another company's algorithm because we knew that some of those algorithms weren't necessarily part of your all-day routine. We never wanted to sacrifice having that direct connection with our audience. We also never purposely built out a website because you have to actually think about going to that website. You actually have to make a conscious decision to do that. We never positioned ourselves as an email company. We started with a signature product that happened to be delivered via email, but that's because, I don't know about all of you, but the first thing I do when I wake up is I turn my alarm off, and then I check my phone and I see, did anyone email me? Is something going on at work? Did my mom email me? Did anything really important happen? Then I brush my teeth, and then I do my stuff, and then I go back to my email. And so we knew we had to be a part of that, what we call the one eye open routine. And that's that first moment in the day. And from there, what we've developed is a suite of products that fit into other routines. So fit into the routine of when you are commuting and you've got 10 minutes to listen to something, or fit into the routine of what time is my meeting? Let me check my calendar. And we actually are integrating information into your calendar. Or you're on Instagram, maybe you're in a meeting, you don't want anyone to see you're on Instagram, so you're not going to be able to listen to the sound. So how can you watch a video without sound, still feel informed by it? And that's how we've created some of our studios content. So all of our guiding principles in building out our product roadmap even further has been, what are the routines of this very specific, very powerful audience, and how can we get into those routines without this audience having to think about, where's my Skimm?
Why is it important for that generation to read the news? I mean, it's shifting, and I mean, the days when I was growing up, we watched the 6 o'clock news every night, and things were very scheduled. We knew, like, appointment TV, right. And the new generations aren't doing that.
Well, I think that it's important for every generation to be informed, and I think that's the responsibility. So I don't think that there's a difference between female millennials needing to be more informed than other generations. I think we want everyone to be informed. I think what has changed is exactly what you said. In some ways, it was easier to get informed because, you know, when we grew up, we talk about all the time that Sundays, you sit down, you watch 60 Minutes. That was really part of our routine. You know, I would watch it with my grandparents and my parents. I would wake up on Sundays. My parents were reading the paper. There was a lot of not just appointment viewing, but kind of this habitual news consumption. And I think with digital media, that all changed. And, you know, with the point of what we saw, two things. One was this trend of personalization, which we were very against for our company, which was if you're already interested in something and you only sign up for things that tell you more about that interest, right? You're going to be an expert in only one category. That doesn't really help people get out of their comfort zone. That doesn't increase someone's worldview. So for our products, we really saw that because personalization was a really hot trend when we started, that people were just becoming more and more siloed in what they already cared about. So I think that making it easier to have a well-rounded perspective, know enough about everything to have an opinion or be curious and to learn more was something that's really important for us. I think the second thing is just, you know, with digital media, it's an onslaught all day long. Like by the time that, you know, we've gotten upstage, the time we get off stage, it's like if we were looking at Twitter, it's insane. It's completely overwhelming. And, you know, for, you know, most people, you don't have time and you don't necessarily want to be have that be part of your day every single day. So I think with the more information out there, it just became more overwhelming. So we wanted to create something that cut through the noise. And I think that's what was really needed, is something that was taking people that are digital natives or, can't, like us, remember when we got our first cell phone, but kind of like it's always been part of our lives, and actually creating products that fit in their routines instead of just creating a whole bunch of content that's out there at all times of the day.
So just kind of staying on the female angle of this, the whole Me Too movement certainly has the attention of a lot of industries in the country, but especially those in the more entertainment side of things, news, film, things like that. As young female leaders, you're really kind of paving a new path for a generation that's maybe finally getting noticed, or a part of the population that's finally getting noticed. Can you talk about what that means to you?
Yeah. I think that there's no woman that can say that they never felt vulnerable in a situation. And we were very lucky that, there were two of us that, a lot of the stories that you read about, like we were always the two of us. And so we've had really stupid things that have been said to us. And, you can use your imagination of the types of things that have been said. But what we actually never realized until it was pointed out to us recently was we are the only company in going after female millennials in the information space actually founded by female millennials. And that was really crazy to us that we, didn't know that that's true. That we didn't know it. And I think, what has really happened, we were producers for a reason. We never wanted to be on camera. We were very happy being behind the scenes and not having our hair and makeup done and just being behind the scenes.
And being normal.
And and I think that we really feel it's a responsibility and something that we're really proud to embrace, that we are hopefully paving the way for the next generation of female leaders. And we're doing that, I think, in a few ways. One is that, we have a ton of females on our team. We are so happy to be able to hire female engineers, and our head of product is a woman. And those are a lot of things that you unfortunately don't read a lot about in the tech industry. 49% of our audience say they want to be an entrepreneur. I think that's incredible, and I hope that we can facilitate that. And there's a few ways we have. We have a brand ambassador program of 30,000 female millennials, and they're called Skimm ambassadors. You all can be one. And we've introduced programming, things like Get Off the Couch, which is our own version of Shark Tank, where you have an elevator pitch and you're pitching us in an elevator, and we're choosing a winner and actually offering mentorship to that winning company. We are about to launch programming that will provide more in real life experiences around that. But I think that we're really proud to be able to represent what we believe is the next generation of female leaders. And I think it goes to, as Danielle said, we raised our own money. We learned the skill set on our own. We didn't just hire people to do that, and we didn't just hire a consultant to do that. And we stretched every muscle we actually could possibly have to learn new skill sets. And it's something that it's added a different sense of gravitas to what we do every day.
And I think the reason that we could do all of that is that we were lucky enough to live in a place where we were surrounded by these iconic women in business who made time in their days to spend 10 minutes with us. Or in some cases, we stalked outside of bathrooms and waited for them. And then they were happy to spend 10 minutes with us. But that made all of the difference in the world, is seeing and hearing from women who had done it before. And for a lot of people, they don't live in a place or have access to that degree of networking. So for us, I think one of our favorite things that we've done as a company, two things. One is that we registered 110,000 people to vote in 2016. 95,000 were women. We're nonpartisan. We strongly believe that you have to vote. If you want to complain, you have to vote. It is a responsibility. We don't care who you vote for, but you have to vote. And that was really seeing our audience enthusiasm and passion and feeling like they were connecting to the world. That was the proof. I think the second thing that we're really proud of is the podcast that we just launched, which is giving access to those conversations with these female leaders that we knew, trying to give them wider access to our audience. So asking the questions that we had to ask back in the day because we didn't know what valuation meant. And sometimes when you try to look that up online and you're reading about it, there's really no sources of information that are going to break it down for you. And the conversations with people that are just real, are like, when is it that you had a breakdown? When is it that you were like, I don't know how I'm going to handle this? When you got the big job, who did you actually call? What's your support system? And I think those conversations and having that in our lives really enabled us to, one, know a little bit what was going to come next, and also have support when things don't go well, which happens all the time. So we're really happy to be able to offer that to the wider audience now.
And I'll give a plug. The new episodes air every Wednesday called Skim from the Couch. You can subscribe in Apple or wherever you like to listen to podcasts.
Hashtag shameless plug.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. I was actually going to ask you about mentoring because I had heard that Alex Taub served as a mentor for you. And I just love that you embrace that. You're not an island.
I'm so glad you said Alex's name. So this is my favorite story, so I'm glad you brought it up. So back when we were working at NBC and we decided that we wanted to start something, we very openly, as we've just said, knew nothing. So we were like, okay, we're gonna, do our homework like good journalists, and we signed up for a class at Skillshare. And they have a lot of online classes as well at the time. And so we went in person the one night we both had off of work. We went to this class. The teacher was Alex Taub, and who is someone just in the startup space. And we looked at each other. If there was any class that we didn't need to sign up for, it was this one. It was called How to Get Your Business Partner. And that was the only thing that we had was a business partner. So we were like, well, this was a waste of time. But we go up to the teacher, Alex, at the end of it, and we whisper to him, we're like, we have an idea. He's like, what's your idea? And we're like, we can't tell you. And he's like, well, that was a great conversation. Thanks so much. I don't know how to help you. So we ended up becoming friends. Eventually, we went to coffee with him, and he was the very, very first person we told our idea to. Didn't tell our parents, didn't tell significant others. We told this stranger.
I remember we made him sign an NDA on a napkin, which was like, I promise not to tell anyone, Alex.
Yeah. And
please tell me you still have that.
I hope I do. I must. And I save everything, so I have to have it. But we told him, and then he became a mentor to us. And if you had asked me how old he was, I would have said he was probably 10 years older than us. And I was like, so glad to have these mentors who have been through more. It wasn't until 6 months in we found out he was 4 years younger than us. And goes to show that mentors come in all shapes and sizes and ages. And Alex has always, we joke he was our number one subscriber, number one fan, but he really taught us how to network, and he really taught us how to take meetings. And the first thing he said is never take a meeting without getting an intro to someone else. And he taught us how to do cold emails. And he taught us really how to do that. And I think, so I'm so glad you mentioned him because he's still such a good friend to us. But I think that mentorship is so important to us. The first things we did was create an advisory board. We've been so lucky to been able to make idols of ours, from Jenny Fleiss, the founder of Rent the Runway, to Alexa Von Tobel, founder of LearnVest, to make them official advisors. John Steinberg, who was the president of BuzzFeed and CEO of Daily Mail, and now founder of Cheddar TV. Those are the people that are our 911 calls that, we can text and be like, we were just in a meeting and someone asked us and we don't know what it means. What does it mean? And those are literally our conversations. And so for us, we're in an interesting position now because we get a lot of emails from people wanting mentorship. And we cannot wait until we can do that. But we also write back a lot of the times. Well, there's actually two things. First of all, we don't write back usually the first time. And the people that follow up more than once, we're like, you're hungry. Then we usually respond. And we usually say, we're heads down right now, but please stay in touch. Because the reality is, we won't be able to be in a position to mentor the right way until we get the company to the next level. And so we need to have that focus.
Excellent. So in true producer form, we have 1 minute. Oh. All right. Can you do it?
Yes.
Here's the challenge. One more question. So the media is constantly changing. We can barely keep up with it some days. What's next for you guys?
Well, we're very excited that we just raised a Series C round of funding. To us, having Google Ventures involved is the investor of our dreams in some way, only to be topped by Sarah Blakely, who's one of the only self-made female billionaires. She started Spanx. She also joined our investor syndicate that we put together. And with that, we are launching Skimm subscriptions. So our app, you can check it out. It's in the Apple Store. Skimm Ahead integrates into your calendar, so it programs for you what's coming up. So you don't have to think about who's playing in March Madness, when your favorite show comes back on, when earnings reports are out. It's all curated and it's all there for you. And with that, I think to your point about monetizing, we knew that we didn't have to be the biggest game out there, because if you are reaching 100 million people, that's fantastic. And I didn't beat the shot clock, but I'm going to wrap up.
That's all right.
But if you're reaching 100 million people, that's fantastic, but you probably are buying a lot of them. And it doesn't mean that you have real connection with that audience. So for us, it's always been about focus on this audience, making sure they're engaged, making sure that they trust us, and making sure that we're creating products that they love and that fit into your daily routines. So for us, we're really excited to continue to monetize through direct subscription and create other products in other routines.
Perfect. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. We give them a hand, please.